Wars fans, hey, there's just 101 days and 12 hours until Christmas 2021, and today we're going to be joined with my friend Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net. Hello, Jason. You've got a dancing
Hello.
snowman over your face. Oh,
Right.
Matthew Cruz has become a member. Thank you, Matthew. We're just a touch late today. I think YouTube's been having some problems, and then I recently switched over to using a DSLR, a Canon 70D that we did some photography with, and it's been sitting around. We haven't done a lot with it. So I got the equipment to hook it up so I can live stream through it. And just before the live stream start, Jason and I were visiting and my camera froze. And so we tried all the usual things. I actually had to shut off the camera, turn it back on, unplug it, replug it, and get everything going. So thank you, Jason, for taking some time to be here. We've got all kinds of folks in the chat. My goodness, just getting caught up. There's Star Wars Meg. Meg is here. Look, I've got my mega mug, and I know
Like,
Meg's retail store, right? Her merch store has been down. Hopefully, Meg, we need an update on that. How's that coming? You getting it back up, or what's going on there? And I've got my caffeine in there, so
I had a retail store with stuff made like 4 years ago that
yeah.
wasn't even like any way copyrighted at all. They still took that down the other day. They're
Oh
crazy
no,
out there. They're just
yeah.
going for it all.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that's what I think happened to Meg is that her retail store was up, and you can see this doesn't say Star Wars on it. It doesn't have it's
Yeah.
it's it's got a lightsaber on there, but it's not you could say that's a light sword. It's
Right.
just right, like
Right.
the
This is a 99-cent store. Light sword.
right, right, right. So there's nothing on there that should be copyrighted. I don't understand, how that got taken down, but hopefully she gets that back up here soon. And so Meg touches base on our topic of the day and these cameos. So there's a lot of rumors going on about cameos in various Star Wars projects, ranging from Andor to Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett. All of those are the kind of the leading candidates, as well as the Mandalorian. Of course, we had Ahsoka appear last season, and everybody's expecting Sabine to show up at some point, Thrawn perhaps to show up at some point. We've heard the castings of those characters have happened, and Ezra Bridger as well. And the story seems to support all of these characters showing up in each of these stories, but I can already feel it. Oh, RF Gaming Channel. Look, you're dancing over Jason's face there. That's great. You've become a member. Thank you so much. So yeah, there's a lot of speculation. So I can foresee a time coming when all of these series are running strong. Oh, this is the way. Dancing over Jason's face again.
This is a great thing just to get you channel members. You could dance on Jason's face.
there, there you go.
You
You
do.
tired of seeing Jason's face? Become a channel member.
Give this guy your cash. You can dance on this face. It's like the dunking booth at those old timey fairs.
That's exactly it. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. But I could see people starting to complain that all Star Wars does is bring in other characters, all these cameos. That they've got no originality. They can't write new stories. They just have to bring in old characters to undergird their subscribers. People are only coming for the fan service and all of the typical kind of, I call them negative Nellies, right? The negative Nellies out there who have nothing positive to say. They should have taken Little Thumper's mom's advice, right? If you can't say something nice, then don't say nothing at all, right? So
I'm still learning that. I'm still learning that after all these years. I get it.
X-Wing give me a hard time for being late. Yeah, I had trouble with equipment getting these on, and that is something else that happened. We had YouTube this morning was having all kinds of problems. I know Meg had problems getting her video loaded because she couldn't get the thumbnail. You did a brief live stream just before, and your thumbnail didn't show up either. It's just now kind of catching up. So there's been some things. Let me see if I can get caught up on the chat here. Oh, okay. So Meg said she opened one with two other places, and they got shut down before they even she uploaded content. What is the deal? You mentioned your store got shut down like that too.
Yeah, I have a feeling if we have Star Wars in the title of our shop, they're going to just be aggressive and say there's an implication there between the merch and the shop title. That's the only thing I could think of because I had things that were inside jokes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we had a joke on our podcast about Bo Sheck, and we called the our dumb dude friends Bro Shecks, and as a joke, and like that was a shirt, Bro Sheck. Bro Sheck got taken down. I'm pretty sure no one owns Bro Sheck.
Right. Well, and that's what I was saying, like with the Mega Mug too, right? There's nothing on here that is copyright offense at all, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing to complain about. So I think what you were saying, maybe that the merch store says Star Wars in it, then they take it down. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That, and that it's hitting everybody, right?
Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely, I don't know if it's a problem, but it sucks.
It certainly does, because I know that a lot of us want to support our content creators, support you, support Meg, support other folks, and if you can't even get them up, then that's gonna be, you can't get the store even open to put things on there that have no relationship to anything. Yeah.
I wish they just kind of did it like how YouTube does it, where they're just like, oh, we're just taking all of the revenue from that video now. They're just siphoning it. Go ahead, siphon it off. That'd be fine. I'd rather people be able to get club shirts and stuff like that than not, you know. But.
Right. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Gray's here. Eating greens. A reference there to Bambi, right? Long ears and great big feet. Yeah. Let's see. What? Oh, there you go. Meg said she called hers Meg's merch. Meggy Meg's merch. And it got shut down. What's going on?
It's official, Meg. Lucasfilm owns you. Shill.
Or what she needs to do is get a contract with Skittles and call it Meg's Skittles store. And share revenue with Skittles. Is Google doing that? I don't know who's doing it. Mega shills.
Mega shills.
There,
Boom.
Nikki has the name for Meg's merch store. Just call it Mega Shills. Problem solved. Yeah. If Santa doesn't cameo on a Star Wars YouTube channel, is it really a magical place? It's a good question. It's a good question. Oh, look, Nikki dancing on top of Jason's face.
But by the time I react, it's probably gone, and I'm just going.
Right. Oh, it's great. So let's just kind of go through some of the cameos that we've heard. And so for Andor, for example, Andor, we haven't talked about it in a hot minute. The last few cameos that we've heard of have been from Kenobi and from Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So, but Andor had some cameos rumored in it as well, including, you name it. Might we get a Grogu? Might we get all kinds of And I got to remember, I don't know if you can remember offhand, but we've got Meg in the chat and many other folks. What other cameos have we heard of in Andor?
Yeah. The Andor one's what? It was Meg who dropped those, correct?
Yeah,
Didn't Meg has been the one who's dropped what the Andor cameos are.
yeah. Let me see
And
here.
it's like my justification on because okay, so you obviously like there's like a way of doing cameos, I think, that is with that there's like a kind of a finesse to it. And it really ties into the story. It's a logical, very natural like progression into the meeting of our focus character and the cameo. And sometimes they just throw it in there and it's done very poorly. Now, I will say though, I don't think Andor is going to do it like in a lazy way. Of all of the shows, Andor is the one I have the most confidence in it not being super lazy.
Yeah. Well, and so I just want to go back a little bit. So Mandalorian season 1 introduced us to brand new characters, right? There's in a new timeline that wasn't really covered. We had a different part of space that nobody was covering. All
Right.
of this was new. You had even Cara Dune, Grief Karga, all of that, right? All the characters we saw in there primarily uh, new. So you're learning these characters as you go along, and it wasn't until we got to the end of season 1 when you got the boots walking across the sand and you're wondering, oh, who was that? Right. And
Yeah.
Fennec Shand, I think, wasn't even an established character before Mandalorian season 1. And now look, Fennec is showing up everywhere else. And I expect to see just the popularity of Ming Na Wen, Fennec Shand, that she would continue to show up. So season 1 of Mando, all new. Season 2, we started to get these cameos. And if you think back to Rebels, right? We're getting crossovers from Rebels primarily, and that's
Mhm.
where Mando is starting to tie in, right? It meets Ahsoka. Ahsoka brings up. Always, it takes me a minute to remember her name. The that lady she went to battle with. Um,
Oh, in that like Japanese style garden.
right. It always takes
Yeah.
me a minute to come up with her name, but
Yeah.
she says, where where's your boss? Where is uh, uh, Admiral Thrawn, right?
Mm.
Grand Admiral Thrawn. And there's we get the name drop back to tie into Rebels. When we saw Ahsoka looking for Thrawn and Ezra in that end post epilogue scene. So you go back to Rebels season 2, and they started bringing in cameos left and right. And now Rebels itself is becoming a cameo for other shows. And I think when we talk about Andor, some of those have also been Rebels uh, uh, kind of rumors. Like, might we get the guy that switched sides there at the end of Rebels?
Callus.
Callus, Agent Callus. Agent
Yeah.
Callus has been rumored with Andor. Um, and there you go. Meg's trying to be careful, right? Andor has 6 cameos fans won't expect. I think some of the others people are just curious about, right? Like, what time frame does it fit in? Would Vader fit in? Right? We see Vader in Rogue One for sure. Might you see Vader? Might you see Inquisitors? Might you see
Well, it's
some?
like Andor, I think gets a pass on the cameo thing. Like when you're like what is it, a lost rat, like Ezra Bridger, and then you're like running into Lando and stuff like that. Like every day, it's somebody new. You're like, okay, but when you're casting an Andor and you are a spy, you are in the rebellion's intelligence agency.
Right.
You're going to be spying on the main players in the galaxy, ostensibly, and unless this is before he's a main spy. But if it does take place with him being like the main spy for the Rebel Alliance, he's going to be spying on Palpatine and Darth Vader and make sure Admiral Akbar's on the up and up and stuff like that. Like that's his job.
Ooh, an
So
Akbar name drop. That's a good thought. And not only that, but Senator Bail Organa,
mhm.
right? Like, well, how could you not have Bail Organa? Because he's the one that is sort of leading the very early stages of it. Might you get a Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, at least a name drop, right?
Yeah.
And then it's got to be, other folks, Ahsoka, right?
Right. There used to be, I don't know if this is still in play today, but a friend at Lucasfilm who was at Lucasfilm during George Lucas's like tenure, if you will, was telling me that things were kind of looked at by Lucas as being a sort of like almost like individual biomes, in the sense that you could have certain kinds of things that could happen on Tatooine. Like if you're in the Jabba the Hutt sphere, you could have frog monsters eating other ones, farting, burping, belching. But if you go over to the Lars homestead, it changes genres at that point. It's not that like grotesque kind of like Muppet show. There, it needs to adhere to like the Western and stuff like that, all that kind of jazz.
Right.
And so but I think we still kind of see that with like War of the Bounty Hunters, the comic book. Everybody like Boba Fett kind of has a biome, and Dengar and Bosk and Fort LOM and all those guys, they all live in there. And so I think that leads to some like really natural kind of like cameos. Like you're not going to have the Rebel Alliance, like you said, and not have Mon Mothma, potentially Bail Organa and stuff like that. They're like main players. It would be like looking at American history and complaining that Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, and Hamilton are all this in the same, signing the same document at the same time. Are you serious?
Seems a little gratuitous, doesn't it?
Yeah, come on, history. The historical story group needs to try harder. But and like I mean, we're not going to focus in Star Wars stories on characters that aren't making Star Wars history. That would be boring and mundane. And and it's like and they don't apply that stuff to Marvel either. Like everybody loves the Avengers are like it's a cash tree and everybody loves them. But when it happens in Star Wars, it becomes a thing. And I think it started with Attack of the Clones and Young Boba. I think it was people a little annoyed that Boba Fett was 10 years old and not like 17 to 24 years old, you know? Right. And they're like, the galaxy's so small.
Yeah, well, and there you go. X-Wing just said that, so good timing. We always talk about how big the Star Wars universe is, but the known space and core worlds are relatively small considering. Well, I mean, you got billions of people, across all of those planets and worlds and different places, right? Different systems.
Right.
There's a lot of that kind of thing, but you do have. I think your example back to like. The Revolutionary War. Yeah, there were, hundreds of thousands, millions of peoples involved on both sides, but you keep hearing the same names over and over again. That's because they're the heroes, they're the leaders, they're the people who were leading things forward. So, yeah, you hear George Washington or you hear, Cromwell or whoever, right? You hear these names. Those are to be expected. So,
but we can agree that Betsy Ross was a Mary Sue, right? I'm sorry.
I mean, how is it that just magically she gets to make the American flag?
I mean, she can do it. Come on. What's her art background?
Oh no, my camera froze again. Oh no, I'm gonna try turning off the camera and turning it back on again. That seemed to fix the problem the last time. So let me do that here.
Now I am Star Wars Santa. Christmas is canceled. You all get nothing. Nothing.
Oh, let's try getting it to reboot. See if that does it.
Yeah,
maybe.
I when this happens to me on my show, I have to redo the browser on my end.
Oh boy.
It's always the browser for me. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
For me,
So
it's the camera. I could see it's the actual camera utility that's messing up.
ah right.
So I just have to reboot the camera and look at that. We're coming back. I gotta get.
Santa, like I thought I destroyed him, but his voice is still here. He's become more powerful than I could possibly imagine. There he is. He's back.
I'm back. I'm back. It just had to reboot that camera again. I'm gonna have to. I think I'm gonna have to shut it off. I've been leaving it on like 24/7. I think I'm gonna have to shut it off from time to time. That it just it might be getting hot, so it could be an overheating kind of thing. So
Right.
yeah. So Andor, there's some folks that make sense. As we mentioned, Bail Organa, Mon Mothma. To get name drop of Vader or you mentioned how cool would it be to get Mon Calamari, get him to show up in there. All of that would be great.
Right.
And Meg, Nikki, when Hayden Christensen enters the room, she
The
overheats.
vapors. The vapors. Get the vapors. I understand.
Uh, oh my goodness, that's a great one, Meg. So Meg had some mon calamari and chips last week. So yeah, so we've got some natural kind of ones. Another one that could show up in Andor, I think, when we talk about cameos, would be perhaps Maul.
Right.
I think he would fit in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Cassian spying on the underworld and having dealings in that stuff would make a lot of sense. George Lucas's original idea was to release a Star Wars show called Star Wars Underworld that was about all of the criminals and the thugs. And then it was going to spawn off into two different shows. One was going to be about the Rebel Alliance, and one was going to be about the Empire. And it's going to be about all that stuff into each other, about how black markets are created by imperialism, and then it leads into the rebellion. And I still think we're going to see those kind of connections playing through these shows. I really do.
Yeah, and Nikki raises another point. Don't bring cameos in just to kill them off. If you're going to use cameos, they need to be done well, and hopefully we get yeah, good crossovers that way. If it fits the story, if it's part of that biome, as you put it, I think that's a really good term to use. Then there should be no issue with it. And that's sort of what I kind of wanted to get in front of it just a little bit because I suspect that our negative Nellies, the folks who are always critical of everything Lucasfilm does, everything that is out there, will come out and start attacking Lucasfilm for these cameos. And I just want to kind of put out like it makes
Yeah.
sense in the context that we've heard. I have yet to hear any that come across as complete uh, fan service or that are being done without any context, right? So there's another rumor, and I saw it discussed. Meg brought it up, and then I saw it on the Tatooine show with Star Wars Only about bringing in Maz Kanata, bringing in the her castle, right? That's another place that sort of makes sense. And I think Jason, you're frozen this time. Jason is frozen. Now I have control. Oh, oh, he's gonna have to. Yes, I did, Meg. I sent you. I sent you the link. Uh, you are. It's in Discord direct message. So yeah, there's X-wing. Why do people always say fan service like it's a bad thing? It doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? It can be absolutely done well, and if it's in the biome, if it's part. Oh, he's back. Look, you can't keep Jason Ward down. Oh, he's frozen. Frozen again. Oh, you're back. You're moving. Moving, not move. It's stuttery. It's stuttery. Oh, there. Meg, you are more than welcome to come on if you are up for it. If you, if you would like to, you are. I sent you the link. There's Ducky. I heard Zuvio's in the background of every episode. It's like spotting the hidden pineapple. Oh, that's very good. No, oh, there's Jason. You're moving and everything. I can see you blinking. Can we hear you? Do you have voice? Audio? No. Nope. Nope. We got nothing, Jason. We got nothing. Audio off, audio on. Mute, unmute. Still trying. Still nothing. Uh, yeah. A ducky. No, that's not it. Jason just tries charades like on his show the other day. He kept putting a box in front of his guest, and his guest had to hand signals. Uh, that's great. We'll see if we can get Jason back. See if Meg gets a chance to join us. So we talked about Andor. Kenobi is the other one that's getting a lot of news of cameos. Of course, there's Hayden Christensen. That's some of you guys are being naughty in the chat, right? I see you. I see you, and I see you, and it's distracting me. It's making it difficult to stay on track because I'm trying to pick which ones I can highlight. But it's dangerous over there in the chat. There's Martin Keeler. Let's try Jason again. It's the mouse. No. No. I'm I'm trying hard. I'm trying hard. You guys in the chat. So Nikki, there are a couple of concerns with Kenobi that folks have had. The first one came up with that comment about the rematch of the century. And of course, we have context in the original trilogy when Vader and Kenobi meet one another again, and what is said in that conversation. So the concern is this rematch of the century that everybody's been waiting for. Well, now it's begun to get even bigger with the cameos that are rumored with Kenobi, and the latest one in Meg's video this morning is the Emperor. Oh, might we get Sheev himself in the? Yeah, okay. I just got a message from Jason. He's rebooting his computer. So hopefully we'll get Jason back here shortly. So, yeah, exactly. The chat's dangerous place when Meg's around. Well, and then we had to go and introduce Meg to Nikki. And that's when the wheels really came off. you get Nikki, and Meg in the chat together. They play off one another, and it gets really, really difficult. Yeah, it gets really, really difficult. I think you forgot to watch Meg's newest video. Oh my goodness, Dominic. How can you do that? Oh my, look who we have with us here. Meg, can we hear you?
Is this thing on?
It's on.
Oh, hello.
Hey there, Meg. Good to see you.
Great to see you. Good to be here.
It's always fun, and hopefully we get Jason in here in just a second, and maybe I can get you talking enough that you don't watch the chat, and we can, keep it more, PG-13. When you and Nikki get going, it gets dangerous.
It does. You should have seen her on the stream the other day with Drunk 3PO and AD Edits.
I stopped in. We were stopping to get some Chinese takeout, and I pulled up the video and saw that Nikki was in the chat, and I apologized to Jay in the chat for introducing the two of you. That's where because she said she was going to come in and make life difficult for Jay, and I was like, oh no.
That's always what ends up happening. So
It's great. It's great. Andor, you said there's some cameos, but you're not allowed to talk about them.
exactly, yes.
And we've talked about ones that are uh, in the biome, as Jason put it, that they sort of make sense. Those are great. Are you concerned over any of the cameos that you've heard associated with Andor?
Honestly, not, because they're not really characters who you can easily mess up. In a couple of the cases, they're going to really surprise the fans because they're not people we've seen in a very long time. So everything I know about cameos in Andor are based on what I've seen in the catalogue of costumes for the
Oh,
series. So
excellent. Excellent. And yeah, no spoilers, right? We try to behave ourselves. The and I just switched over to Kenobi. Of course, your video today talking about Palps showing up.
yes,
I think that I'm not concerned about that either. In the case that we've heard with Kenobi of having Inquisitors and having Vader, we've heard a lot about Hayden being in the Vader costume and as well as him just showing up like in a back to tank, that kind of thing. If you're going to see Hayden as Anakin Vader, and you're going to see Inquisitors, then Palpatine makes sense. And the context that you have is they're showing up at events together,
they
right?
are. Yeah,
Fan
just like they
events.
did before the Rise of Skywalker. So we're just gonna have to wait and see if that ends up being anything.
Right,
I guess
right.
it's like, why Ian McDermott? Why not? I don't know, Anthony Daniels or someone else. Well, Anthony Daniels is in Kenobi, so
Well, there you go. There's uh, another one that makes sense. To get C3PO and R2D2 in Kenobi could make sense. Of course, when R2D2 runs into old Ben out there in the desert, he goes, "Oh, I don't remember ever having a droid." So that's it might be even more of a problem if he's still interacting with R2 in between. Let's see if we can get Jason.
Let's see.
Actual,
That is it
hey,
working?
it's
Okay.
working.
It wouldn't let me. Yeah, Melon was just like giving me code and stuff when I was trying to get it. I had to like, I don't know what's going on. It's a weird YouTube day.
Oh,
it
well,
is.
yeah, I think it is a weird YouTube day. You're absolutely right. We have problems with our thumbnails and all of that. I know you had trouble, Meg had trouble, I had trouble. It was a big problem getting YouTube to work this morning. Uh, other other cameos
Meg,
in there you go.
get
Hi.
there.
Now, if somebody joins the channel, they won't be dancing on Jason's face. Uh,
Too tempting to say
Too
anything.
dim.
it is. It is. Other Kenobi uh, uh, cameos. Uh, there's been some concern that we would see Maul in Kenobi because we know Maul's outcome in Rebels with Kenobi, so it would be problematic to say the least if Maul showed up.
I think Maul has a good chance.
Oh, your audio is kind of popping there, Meg.
It's pretty cool beats though. Is that part of the Star Wars music channel that Meg has now? No, I'm kidding.
So
Yeah,
you,
yeah. With like Maul, you know, does Maul ever? Maul thinks that Kenobi's dead, right? And then he finds out that he's alive in Rebels. Correct? It's been a while since I've seen that season.
So if Maul is going to be in Kenobi, he can't reunite with him because by the time of Rebels, which is quite a bit after, that's when he discovers Obi-Wan on Tatooine. My bet is that Maul will go to Vader and try and find some information there. I don't know if my
oh
audio is still
no, it's
shoddy.
better, much
It's
better.
good.
I switched to my microphone. It was the inbuilt headphone option before.
Oh, I see. No, it sounds great. You sound great. Um,
Yeah,
okay.
maybe Vader's like, he's mine. You don't touch my boy Kenobi.
And then
And
Maul is
then-
like, well, I asked him out on a date first.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm the original Sith Kenobi connection, dude. But
And then it turns into something else. It gives a new definition to a lightsaber three-way.
I think I read that on Archive of Our Own. I think I saw that there. It's definitely
Sounds
there.
about right.
Yeah.
Oh no. Jason, look, Meg has already turned you against me. What have you done?
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to flip. I mean, your mic cut out or your video cut out. I took over the show and declared myself Santa.
Yeah, I know.
I can't be trusted.
So C-3PO, one series that we haven't heard much about is the droids, where 3PO and R2 are going to be, and that's a mix of live action and animation from what I can gather. And we might see plenty of it in there as well. But and again, the topic is there a problem with cameos? Do we have too many? Are we revisiting the same characters over and over again too much? And so far, I haven't seen anything that's a concern. With everything related to Kenobi, and I'll ask both of you as well, anything that's a concern that is that you're like, that it seems like they're stretching for this one?
Meg, you want to go?
No, go for it.
Okay, so I think that when we hear about a cameo, we hear about Darth Vader is in Boba Fett, right? For instance, and we hear that, we go, "Oh, that's everything." But in reality, it might. I mean, I'm guessing, but it might only be like 5 minutes of one of 12 episodes or 8, whatever, how many 8 episodes. So when we end up in that kind of situation, we make a mountain out of a molehill, I think, in that way. And because the problem becomes that we don't get new characters. Like do you get a Cobb Vanth if Darth Vader's there? Not necessarily, but there's also going to be like 7 more episodes where there might be that new emerging character. And that's the one thing that Filoni's done actually throughout his career. I think if Filoni retired today, his legacy is launching new characters into Star Wars that actually do carry on. And that's important. And why wouldn't he use the characters he creates in his shows, for instance?
Well, okay,
either.
so I think we talked about Ming-Na Wen and seeing Fennec Shand used, for example, in the Bad Batch after she was introduced in The Mandalorian, and we know that she's going to be in the Book of Boba Fett. There's a character that was established, and now he's using her across multiple series. The latest ones, of course, are the Bad Batch themselves, and Omega. Any other characters we could see? We've talked about a little bit, making the jump from the Bad Batch to any of these other series. My opinion, and I think Meg's as well, you correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's too soon. It's too early. These characters haven't had enough time to be fleshed out. Maybe after Bad Batch Season 2 or afterwards, we might get them. But I really don't think that, not that soon, not like we saw with Fennec Shand, where she showed up right away.
Yeah, when you have like development going on, congruently, you're going to have inconsistencies probably, and even if they're written in a very specific way on the page, but then it's directed and performed in a certain way, that's going to change the accent on that writing, so to speak. And so you really have to launch the character, get the character into the universe and establish before you start throwing them into other places in live action or in multiple shows. I could potentially see it on a character like, for instance, like Afra, who has now had like pretty much 2 different lines of 2 different comic runs. I think the boundaries of the personality are pretty much established, what she would do and wouldn't do and what her goals are, and that kind of stuff, right? But on a character like Omega, she's still like a little kid. Like she hasn't even become a person, like an adult yet. So if you go throw her in, I think Megan said this 100 times too. You would just end up with like, oh, now we don't really care what she was doing because we already know what she becomes.
Yeah.
If she becomes the white armored Boba Fett lady, it's like, well, that's the cool part. So
I think Jason's audio cut out.
Yeah,
there.
yeah, Jason, your audio is trying to fail on you.
This is
It's not good. It's not good.
Can you hear me all?
It's like that character from Spider-Man. Is
Oh
it
my
Electro?
goodness. Electro.
Yeah.
Nikki. Oh my goodness. So, what about Dr. Afra?
She exists.
Yeah, she does. Is it too soon, or might we see her show up?
Do you think she's well known enough amongst like casual fans to?
I don't think so at all. I think that she's very, very popular amongst some of the more sweaty Star Wars fans, the folks who are kind of deep into the Star Wars lore, and she's very, very popular from her comic series. But to Jason's point, she has been established. The character exists and is very popular. If you're going to introduce her into a live action, is it too soon?
I think it's the whole thing of like with the Mandalorian season 2, before the season dropped, we had all these rumors that all ended up becoming true. Whether it was Bo-Katan or Ahsoka, and the only one that didn't pan out was Sabine Wren, and I think some people were also talking about Captain Rex. But the reason that they could bring Bo-Katan specifically into live action, forget Ahsoka because most people have at least seen the character somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
The reason Bo-Katan worked is that even if you have never seen Clone Wars or Rebels, they pretty much established who she was within 5 minutes. Like, she jumped onto the boat to save Grogu and Mando, and then she's like, I'm Bo-Katan, the last of the line of Clan Kreese or whatever it was. And like, if you're a casual viewer, you never saw the animated series, you instantly are taken into that world of, okay, there are other Mandalorians out there. So does Dr. Aphra have too much baggage in the Vader comics and like too much story to bring her into live action, and then you risk oversimplifying her, or you risk isolating fans who are like, well, why is there this archaeologist in Star Wars?
Well, archaeologist is a little bit of a stretch just for her, right? She's more than just an archaeologist, but
but that's what I mean. Like, how do you introduce a character to give her all of the necessary, like, to do respect to her character, but at the same time, be like, this is a character who diehards can relate to.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep,
yes.
You sound great.
Okay, yeah, I bet you if they ever put Aphra in, it's going to be a very heisty thing, and she's going to get it in there, and she's going to help them steal the thing, the person that they hire, and that's the introduction.
Well, we lost your audio. We lost your audio about halfway through there. Yeah. We lost your audio. Jason, we lost your audio about halfway through there. But I get what you're saying, right? In a heisty kind of way, and I think Ashton kind of set on it, right? She can be handled a lot like Cobb Vanth. Fans will immediately know who she is, and then they can explain the backstory. Meg, are you suggesting that bringing her on as a cameo wouldn't work as well as maybe having a show that's more focused on her, where she's a primary character that her story arc can be developed further?
I think it's a bit difficult to compare her to Cobb Vanth because even diehard Star Wars fans may not have known who Cobb Vanth was unless they read Empire's End. He was another person that I'd heard about but didn't know anything about until season 2 of The Mandalorian. And it was only after watching Chapter 9 that I went out of my way to read the book in that trilogy. But I think Dr. Aphra has a lot more to her story than Cobb did before The Mandalorian.
Jason's struggling. He's trying to get it going there.
All right. All right. Can you guys hear me right now?
Well, I can hear you.
All right. I'm gonna plug my headphones in. I'm just going in. I'm going in bare bones, guys.
All right. Well,
I think Nikki will be very, very happy to hear that.
Nikki, this is for you. I'm going bare bones. All right.
Sheev
All
the
right.
Wise has become a member. Look, we've got instead of Jason's face, we've got Sheev dancing on Jason's thumbnail.
Yeah, but I mean, like, don't you guys agree that like at the end of the day, it does come down to that finesse element of it? Like what Meg was saying, like Bo-Katan, it was so efficient, and you knew everything that you really needed to know about her really quickly. And then by the end of the arc, she knew that she wanted the saber, she couldn't have it, and it was kind of like it's all there, and it was very, like it's just said, efficient. Whereas like in other stories, it's like my go-to is always Lando in Episode 9 and Lando in Rebels. It's like, what's he doing here? He's looking for space pigs, and this other one, he just happens to be on a back planet in a space tank, and he's just happy to see everybody. It's like, it's weird, and there's such a difference, I think, in what they give the character to do, and when they don't give the character anything to like do. Are you guys both reading War of the Bounty Hunters by any chance?
Absolutely.
So I've not started it yet. I know I have access to it. I just haven't started reading it.
I kind of cover it sporadically. Like I'll cover 2 or 3 stories that are specifically interesting. Like I covered the Kira story on my channel and the recent Boku the Hutt, the one who was mad at Jabba for letting Vader take Han and Carbonite.
He's jacked. He's ripped. I think he's the ripped one, right? Yeah. Like there's I won't spoil it for Santa, but there's like a big kind of like moment where you have I'm going to say every cameo you could possibly imagine in this one setting, and it's a bit ridiculous, but it's also really fun. And so I'm kind of about it in that way, but I also go, is this good? I don't know, but I like it a lot. It's really fun, right? But in that instance, like you have Darth Vader, and they kind of turn him into a little bit of a moron. And it's like they run into this moment where they want to prop up other characters at the expense of classic characters. And that's also where these things really run into like a huge problem. And I hope that we don't see that in live action, because I felt like he was really stupid a lot in that comic.
I agree with that. I wouldn't say that would come over to live action. I don't think they would do that. But I found a lot of the times, maybe even more recent Vader comics, that Darth Vader has always been a bit dumbed down, especially the one where he goes to Exegol and finds, Palpatine's like Snoke clones and everything. Vader just seemed like a complete doofus throughout that comic.
Now, is that to me that seems like maybe a little bit of a stretch to put it that as a doofus or somebody that's that dumbed down. I don't know that it came across to me fully that way. And again, I've just been watching kind of the coverage of it between Theory and you, Meg, and other things. I haven't gone and actually read them myself, but I don't know that I make him a doofus.
I feel like Vader talks way too much. I know it's comics, that's the point. Like, they have to get across what the characters are saying and thinking. But it feels like Vader is always trying to... I can't really put my finger on it. Like, if you've read the Vader comics, you realize over time that Vader is less of this mysterious figure who's got all of these issues. And it kind of feels like an angsty version of Vader. I can't put my finger on what it is, but I get Jason's point in War of the Bounty Hunters, especially in the more recent one.
Yeah, they're like trying to reconcile Anakin Skywalker with Darth Vader, and he kind of just comes up like the dumbest guy on the football team sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. He just uses his big stature and his lightsaber just for the sake of it, like, oh, I'm Darth Vader, like a caricature of what you'd want.
Oh, I want to answer Don's question, and there's a couple other things in the chat that just touch base on, and we'll get back to this. Don says, trying to catch up on the trilogy she speaks of, meaning that's the Aftermath trilogy, Don, if you're not aware, and it is available in audiobook format. You can get it from the public library for free. That's where I listened to it. I've listened to it several times. It's available, and you can check it out there if you're interested in that. But the Aftermath series has a lot of tie-ins to things, and I quite enjoyed it. So that's the where we see Cobb Vanth referenced. OG fan asks, "Is Bounty Hunters a retelling of the Bounty Hunters War trilogy from back when?"
No,
No. I,
it's very, very different.
hey, Whitney's a member. Oh, oh, very good. Thanks, Whitney. And I saw a $3 or a €3 super chat come in from Karen earlier. Thank you so much. How's it going? Oh, good to see you, my friend. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate that. Um, there was a couple points about maybe a Vader series, a live action series with Vader. And I don't know. I'm kind of anti seeing. I don't know that that's needed. Vader has been explored so much through not only the Vader comic series, but in other crossovers in novels. Like his story is pretty well explored.
Exactly. If you want a Vader series, just watch Star Wars episodes 1 to 6.
Yeah, and the biggest opportunity I think that was left on the table was explored in Vader Immortal, the VR game.
I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, if you don't, do you have an Oculus Quest by any chance? Because if you do, you should play that game for sure. And if you don't, you could watch the videos of people doing playthroughs, and it's basically Darth Vader's quest for immortality on Mustafar because he wants to bring Padme back.
That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's actually a really, really cool game. If you have a chance to play it on Oculus Quest, way better to play it in VR, obviously.
Excellent. I need to come up with the justification for the expense, though. Those things aren't cheap.
No, an Oculus Quest will run you about $300 right now. But there is Vader Immortal, and it's a 3-part story, and so that's a couple of hours. There's a new VR game coming out today, actually. Galaxy's Edge, Tales from Galaxy's Edge: Last Call, and that one is a bunch of little mini stories, like an anthology series, where you go into a bar in VR. People tell the story, and then you get to play through the adventure. You get to be IG-88, choking people out and stuff like that. It looks pretty cool.
That's excellent. Okay, so we've talked about Andor, talked about Kenobi, some of the cameos there. The Book of Boba Fett. Now, if this Book of Boba Fett is what we've heard it to be, that's his hit list, those that he's coming after, every single episode would be a cameo episode, right?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I don't know, but I feel as though it might follow the same thing as The Mandalorian, where the first 2 episodes are kind of just setting the scene, just kind of picking up the story from, where it needs to be picked up from, whether that's from Jabba's palace or Fennec and Boba are doing something else, or they're interacting with some crime lords or whatever. And then these cameos will feed into the story. If you think of it, The Mandalorian Season 2 only had 8 chapters, which is what we presume the Book of Boba Fett is going to have. Mm-hmm. And across those 8 chapters of The Mandalorian, we got major cameos, but they were really kind of, was it chapter 11 onwards? It was chapter 11, chapter 13, and chapter 14, 15, and 16. So I think it's going to probably be the same format of, kind of have this progressive start and then build up to the first big cameo, and then that ties into another cameo. I don't think it's going to be a cameo per episode, but that's just my opinion based on what we know how Pedro, what's his name? Robert Rodriguez.
So you think it might be multiple episodes in some cases where they're after the same person? Let's say Cad Bane. He might cross over 2 or 3 episodes.
I don't know if they'll cross over 1 or 2 episodes, but what could happen is we get multiple cameos in the same episode. Like if we have Bosk, who has been heavily rumored to appear by LRM Online, he could easily be in the same episode as Dengar or Circus and Forlom very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would just, I think that would just make sense at this point with what we've seen of Boba throughout the years. Like I don't even know if that one, like, it's not wrong to call it a cameo, but is it a mischaracterization to be like, oh, Boba Fett encounters Dengar and Bossk? Like, of course he does. Like, it would be like saying, if there's a Luke Skywalker show, that there's going to be a cameo from Luke and from Han and Leia. Like, of
Or-
Yeah,
course
it's
they're
not
going to
really a
show up.
cameo.
Right.
You know,
Right.
they're part of his life or his world. And
Yeah, and I think that's a good. Both of you have touched on a bit of a thing that I think we should maybe start to think about trying to clarify what counts as a cameo. Like if it's
I th- Sorry.
no, like if it's a person that is involved or a character that's involved in the main storyline. Let's say Book of Boba Fett. Fennec Shand, I don't think is a cameo, right? She's part of the core of the story that was already established in that teaser. So I wouldn't count Fennec Shand as a cameo in the Book of Boba Fett. So what would you classify as a cameo? Like we heard from Star Wars Only that Luke Skywalker and Han Solo were going to be in the Book of Boba Fett. And there's been others as well, lots of others. Those to me seem like cameos, both of them, right?
mhm.
I would say a cameo is probably a character who appears that you didn't expect to appear. They make a brief sort of cameo in the series, but they're not a central part of the series. Kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, I think we use it to interchangeably with, characters who are central to the story, and we use those terms interchangeably. But I know what you mean, like Fennec Shand, Bossk, Dengar, they're not cameos more than they are just really a real pleasant surprise if they're part of that story. I don't know if there's a word for it. But someone like, let's say, Darth Vader would be a cameo because you don't expect him to be in that kind of show.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and for me, it kind of goes into like a weirder place. Like, I feel like a cameo may not be needed. Otherwise, it's just effortless and natural. Like when Yoda shows up in The Last Jedi to coach Luke on like Luke's final lesson, basically. Like that one doesn't feel like a cameo to me. But the way that they use Lando in 9 does. And I can't really put my finger on it and define what that difference is necessarily, but there is a difference.
I think it's more like token characters, isn't it? It's like, well, they just showed up for the sake of showing up. That's more of a cameo. Whereas Yoda played such a huge role in convincing Luke to go and be what the rebellion needed.
Yes, like one plays at the heart of the story, and the other one is just to get claps in a theater.
Yes, exactly. Because
So
Lando's
now-
literal appearance was just a big "let's all applaud." Like,
Yeah,
he had a big cheesy smile on his face, and I can't remember what he said, but I still cringe.
yeah, and they did that to Karen Allen in the last Indiana Jones movie too. It's like I love both of those characters, but come on, guys.
X-Wing hit on another good one. Wedge in the sequels. It's a cameo for sure, right? He makes
Yeah.
sense in this story, but that's absolute cameo. An interesting question: is Bossk a cameo in Empire now? Was he a cameo in the first place? IG-11, IG-8. All right, are those cameos
I guess so.
now that like they weren't because they were introduced, right? They weren't established characters that are making an appearance. But now, if you were to watch it chronologically, and all of a sudden these characters are showing up there when Vader calls the bounty hunters together. They're not essential to the story. They show up in the background, and while Boba Fett has a role, they don't. So they count as cameos now.
But even a downgrade to cameo is an Easter egg. So someone said in the comments, George Lucas in Attack of the Clones. George Lucas played a Praetorian. Is that what they're called? The blue-skinned creatures. George Lucas played one of those in the prequels. That's an Easter egg. And Chopper in Rogue One was an Easter egg. R2D2 and C3PO were a cameo. in Rogue One, even if they had exactly the amount of screen time, but 3PO actually spoke. It's a very, very fine distinction, and I like what Jason said about you just kind of instinctually feel which one it is.
Right.
Yeah, I think you nailed it with having lines. I think when you have lines, that's the difference between the Easter egg. Because like in episode 9, they could have just used some random guy at Pinewood to be the wedge shot, but instead they're like, let's put Dennis Lawson. That one is a difference. And just to be really ultra nerdy on here, the definition of cameo is a small character part in a player movie played by a distinguished actor or a celebrity.
So John Williams, to me, seems more like an Easter egg, but I guess by definition is a cameo.
He was a cameo, and I think J.J. Abrams literally called him a cameo in the making of. And another one that's really interesting is what you were saying about Bosk. Like, does he now become a cameo in the original trilogy, in The Empire Strikes Back? And by the same metric, what is Cad Bane in The Bad Batch?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it does. It's when we have a living universe. I don't know if cameo is the right term. I mean, the more that we're having this conversation in a living universe of a living story, it's not necessarily like it doesn't necessarily apply when there's a canon.
Right.
It's complicated.
it's complicated. Yeah. Oh man, you don't know what I want to say, but Meg is here, and if I do, then she'll take advantage of it.
I mean, think of the Book of Boba Fett. Like, if we get Luke and Han, are they going to be cameos? And also, like, if we get, I don't know, Princess Leia flipping the bird in the background, is she an Easter egg or a cameo?
Yeah, like I said, for me, it comes down to if they have a line. If they say something, cameo, no line in the background, you could miss it, irrelevant to the main plot. That's an Easter egg. I think that's how I'm going with that definition. I think you kind of laid out, Meg.
Fantastic.
How about secondary character role?
Secondary character role.
Because you got like the main characters, then primary roles, secondary roles.
Yeah.
Well, it does raise some interesting discussion points, because we get things called like filler episodes, right? Filler is thrown around a lot, but it's not applied consistently. And what some people call filler just means like it's not the main event, but it's other people use it for it has no story progression whatsoever, and you get this great big range in between, like it had nothing whatsoever and it wasn't the main event. And filler episode becomes then confusing because people use it inconsistently. And I think we're going to see, especially 2022 is going to be such a huge year for Star Wars with all of these series and all of these characters showing up. Are they really cameos if they are part of the main story? And I think it's an interesting point.
Like, we were taken back to the Mos Eisley Cantina in The Mandalorian twice, and we got some Easter eggs. You know, that droid who said something to R2-D2 at Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi, he showed up as like the bartender. That is, I would say, an Easter egg. And I think it goes back to Jason's point of having dialogue. I know this is a little bit unrelated, but something I found really astonishing, which I never took notice of, is in the end credits of Revenge of the Sith, Ian McDiarmid is listed as having a supporting role, and I thought, surely he was more than a supporting role in that film.
It's a good point. I've not picked up on that. I think you're the first person I've ever heard mention it.
You know, there was during the prequel era, they played it close to the chest that Palpatine, even though everybody knew that Palpatine and Sidious were the same characters, and I think that distinction is might be why that, like, technically he was playing two characters as far as the official story went, you know, for all
That's
of that time.
Good point.
And then but in reality, he's clearly like one of the stars of the film.
But like when I hear the phrase supporting role, I think of someone like Chancellor Valorum from the
Yeah.
Phantom Menace. I think of like very minor characters. I don't think of Ian McDiarmid, but as you say, there was, Palpatine and Sidious in the same films throughout all three prequels.
So weird. Such a weird
Jason,
time.
it comes around. When you put it out there, it comes back around to you.
I don't get it.
Okay, well, yes, you do. You just want me to say something.
I do.
To explain it. Yeah, I know you do.
Explain it, Santa. Explain it.
No, I'm not taking the bait. I've had Meg zing me too many times to just take that bait. I've learned my lesson, but yet she still gets me. I want to kind of wrap up. There is a new article. So we saw last week there was a thing about all of the Force users in the Visions, and today we get a new one from StarWars.com, and it's meet all of the droids.
Astro Boy.
Astro Boy is there. You have to pick on that one. That's
He's adorable. Look at him.
It is adorable. It is.
His name is T0B1, right?
Toby.
To be one, right? He wants to be a Jedi, right? Yeah, he dreams of being a Jedi Knight, and he's which raises an interesting question because he's not the only droid in Visions that aspires to be a Jedi or to use a lightsaber, and there's not only to be one, right, and friends, which is Astro Boy. That's an Astro Boy nod for sure. But there's a couple others in here. This one here I thought was interesting. K344 in Twin Engines Tatooine Rhapsody. There's a reference in here that I thought was pretty good. Where is it? Off of an actual song. Oh, here it is. The Star Waver. Right? Members of the Star Waver. I'm like, is that Dreamweaver? Right?
Yeah, probably. But to be fair, that's something George Lucas would do. He absolutely loved puns in Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good.
I keep wondering if that one is going to work in both languages as well. Music. Will music translate like? Is that going to work in English as well as Japanese? I'm excited for it.
That's a very good point.
It is good. Not all of them do, right? I just introduced we were at Red Robin getting a burger the other day with our daughter, and she heard 99 Luft Balloons for the first time.
Oh, that must have been magical. That song rocks.
And that the English version of that sort of works, but it makes no sense. You're like, I don't understand. Like, what? But
yeah, it's definitely better in German.
It's a great song, but the context of it when you listen to the lyrics in English is a stretch.
Yeah.
So here's another one. TD4. All right, TD4 is a droid. It's like a loyal dog. Here, it's in the rabbit episode, right? You got the.
Is that rabbit woman the same species as Jackson? Is it?
Jackson. I don't know. It's certainly.
I think that's Jackson's mom. It's Jackson's mom.
It's
Jackson's mom has got it going on.
Oh yeah.
Meg, that's a point. Meg, right there. That was.
I thought
good.
that was quite clever. Like Stacy's mom has got it going on.
Yeah, I got it. That was perfect. Here's Stuart Droid. Stuart Droid, the ninth Jedi. It's sort of the seventh sister or whatever. The ninth Jedi. And here's another droid that is in this case, Jedi apparently, right?
Santa, I think you and I both immediately thought about Inquisitors. when you saw
Yeah.
the ninth Jedi.
I couldn't help it. Like the seventh sister, the fifth brother, right? Like the ninth Jedi. That's it. Just harkens to that. So, and here we get it's it's a masterless Jedi come to the aerial temple under strange circumstances. The Steward droid greets him. Blah blah blah. So there's just more information as they prepare us for the Visions that's coming next week. Of course, this time next week we'll be talking about Visions and just to kind of, and I know Meg, you've talked about it several times. Your excitement level for Visions, as we're now a week out, and Star Wars has given us a couple things to give us some context.
Yeah, I'm quite excited compared to what I used to be. And I
still
think
have
it's
my
the trailer.
concerns.
The trailer's too epic.
Yeah, I'm a little reserved still. There are things about it that I'm worried about, but the visuals look stunning. And I'd say this droids article did nothing to assuage any fears that I have. It's in fact probably the thing that I'm most concerned about, like Astro Boy. Will it be when you have droids trying to become Jedi, those kind of things? But I think we just need to let them happen, be fun, and enjoy them for what they are, right? Just
Yeah,
entertainment.
exactly.
Jason, what do you think?
I think General Grievous is going to really relate to that Astro Boy episode, and it's going to be his favorite. You know, it's really, I mean, it's really an allegory for General Grievous's heart. So I think that's going to really enhance Revenge of the Sith for me.
And I actually feel very sorry for Grievous. I remember when I first saw episode 3, I thought, he must have a very terrible existence. I know he suffered injuries and Count Dooku rebuilt him or something, but the way he went out was quite tragic.
Was pretty cruel. This was pretty cruel to get your insides burned up by a gun. But I am like you, Santa, about the show. Like I am like I'm not really worried. I don't know if I have a feeling I'm going to see it and love it. I'm going to be like, how did I ever not know I wanted this? Like that's kind of what I think is going to happen. But right now I'm like, if it came out, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to make dinner and I'm going to, get a beer and then I'm going to start it. Whereas if it was like Book of Boba, I'd be like, I'm doing this now. I don't need to eat dinner. So.
and they're like 12 to 15-minute episodes, I think, is sort of the average. So they're going to be shorter. And I think if I could just let go and let them happen, and just be entertained by them, it'd be the best. And not let them detract me on, well, that shouldn't be that way or this shouldn't be that way, because they're not canon. They're meant for entertainment. They're meant to bring in new fans. They're meant to just be something fun. And if I look at them more like Lego Star Wars or Freeman Adventures, those kind of things, then I think that could be a lot of fun.
I agree with that.
Freemaker Adventures, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are good. All right. So I think we'll go ahead and call it a day. I appreciate both of you coming on to talk about this. And we've kind of explored what are cameos. And is the term being used maybe too broadly? And I think that as we get into these, we're going to see that many of the things that we're concerned about today or that we hear are cameos today will be actually story points. There'll be story elements, and they'll be part of the storyline, and not truly what feels like or looks like a cameo. Any closing thoughts?
Just thank you for having me on.
Thanks
Yeah.
for joining, Meg. Always.
Same. Thanks for having me on. And I just want to let everybody know that if you see X-Wing at a convention and you're dressed as a space bunny rabbit, give him a big hug.
I will make
big
sure
hug.
to do that.
Yeah. That's
And then he'll be like, "Who are you?" and I'll say Meg, and he'll say Meg who? Meg Skywalker.
Oh,
And then
brilliant.
the Force theme plays me out.
Brilliant.
That's absolutely brilliant. And with that, my friends, we're going to call it a day. Thank you all for being here with me. I've had a great time visiting with all of you today, and I'm going to remember to hit the outro. How about that? I mostly forget it, but today I'm going to hit the outro, and wish you all a fantastic day, and we look forward to talking to you the next time. Until then, my friends, Merry Christmas, and may the Force be with you always.